Hello, it's me again. Welcome to part 5 of this series of videos to create this nice social network that will not track all your political intentions and use it to make money. So let's try to use many of these card views in one view. And for that reason, we'll create what is called a stories view. So as usual, stories view, you'll know this by heart by now. So we have this new view. So the stories view will need some model. So let's add like a bunch of stories. Once again, stories. Let's come this homepage model that I created with stories. So we have our view. So what do we want to do? So first of all, let's say we want to put here a card view like the one we created with a story. Let's just call stories 0. So that's what we had before. But let's say we want to make many of these. So one way to do this is called what is called ForEach. So this is the new way to convert an array of models, for example, into an array of views. So if we call like this, let's see if we can make it work. We need this. We need a self. Maybe now it succeeds. No, you're not gonna make me happy. So we have a bunch. So, but we don't want one simulator per story. So let's say we want everything within the same simulator. So that we can just, as we did before, embed in an H stack, and we have all the stories. So of course we don't want to hard code like 5 stories like we did here. So let's say we want to use stories. So if we could make this, which is just get a story and pass a story, that would be amazing, because with a couple of lines we'll just convert this array of models into an array of views. There's an issue that stories is not a valid input for this ForEach. So the way this ForEach works, it makes this list and it makes like a hash somehow, and in that way it knows the order, and if we try to move them, it will like try to animate, change or whatever, but it doesn't know how to do that with stories because it's just with a simple struct that we just created. So one way to make that work is to make this conform to Hashable. So if we make this Hashable, which in this case, because everything is a string, it'll just be Hashable. So we can say, okay, get all the stories and identify them by self, which means we'll make each story, it will hash it, and it will use that like sort of like an index, not really an index, but it will be the way to know in which position they still are, and we have everything. So this doesn't look very nice, and it's not what we were expecting, but this is a way to do it. Another way is just importing here SwiftUI. And SwiftUI added something which is called Identifiable. So Identifiable means that we are assigning actually an ID property to this model. That can be anything. It just needs to be object identifier, which we can jump to the definition to see what it is. Struct object identifier, and it's like any object. So we can give it an int, or we can give, for example, just a UID, just to make sure they are all different. So by doing that, we don't need to put this, and we can just call ForEach in stories, and it will just know how they work. So if we, for example, swapped one story for another inside this array, ForEach will know how to track them because you know their hashes and you know their IDs, and it will know how to do it. So this is a nice way to make it clean. On the contrary, we need to import SwiftUI, which is a UI framework, into the models, and it's not like a clear separation, so I haven't made up my mind yet on how do I feel about that. So let's try to make this a bit nicer. So HTag has another property that we haven't used yet, which is called spacing. Or we can say, okay, just get all the objects and space them by 10. So this is a static view. If you actually wanted to interact with this, you may have realized that we haven't run the app once since we started. There's like a nice place button down here. So when you press it, it actually creates a simulator in the background, makes it run, sends this view to a simulator, and then mirrors the simulator view into this preview layout. So you'll see here that it's doing all that. And once it finishes, we'll be able to interact with this view just as it was a simulator. So the first thing you'll notice is that we can't do much. This is an HTag and it's static. So if we wanted to make this interactable, one thing we can do is just embed everything inside a scroll view, which is quite straightforward. I love the way this works now in SwiftUI. So with a couple of lines, we created this. And let's wait till it finishes. I think my Mac is dying. But we'll be able to scroll this view. One extra thing while this keeps trying to load is that we are not having like any leading or trailing thing on this side. So one thing we can do is just add inside the scroll view just a padding. So as I said before, padding adds padding to all 4 sides. But if we want to add less padding, we can just say just one padding on the leading and padding on the trailing. And I want it a bit smaller than what it is on the system. So let's just stop this and rerun to see if we can make it work. And you see we have a nice scroll view. So you see by default it doesn't have a scroll indicator. Scrolling is enabled only for the content. If you see when you create a scroll view, you have actually a constructor with a million things, so you can always customize it as much as you want. Let's just leave it like that for now. So we have a nice scroll view with all the cards, so we'll start building our components next. Thank you very much, like and share, and see you in the next time. Bye.